The silence she never explained through him was full of light and cameras. Reporters moved like bees around a hive, buzzing with energy and hungry for a headline. The Hollywood press junket was underway for a new film starring Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas. Fans outside screamed their names, holding posters and phones. Inside, lights burned hot. Questions flew like arrows. But something felt off. Keanu sat still, focused, hands gently folded. His smile was polite, soft around the edges. But his eyes searched the room. He noticed it quickly. Ana was quiet. Not her usual quiet. This was a silence wrapped in something heavier. She hadn't spoken since the interviews began. When asked questions, she smiled but gave short answers. Sometimes just nods. A reporter leaned forward, voice sharp like a blade. Ana, the internet, says you froze during the premiere. Care to explain why? Ana's eyes lowered. She looked down at her hands, twisting a ring around her finger. She opened her mouth slightly, then stopped. The room grew tenser. Another reporter laughed softly, trying to poke her. Cat got your tongue? Keanu turned to her. He didn't speak, just watched. He had known Ana for years now. He knew her rhythms. He remembered the first time they met, during a long shoot in the desert, when she had offered her umbrella to a shivering crew member. She was warmth and light, but today something had dimmed. The interviewer didn't stop. Is Hollywood Miss de Armas? Silence isn't golden here. People want answers. Ana's hand trembled slightly. She hid it beneath the table. Keanu looked at her again, and then something inside him shifted. Slowly, calmly, he stood up. The microphone squeaked. The cameras turned. I think we're done here, he said gently, voice steady. The room blinked. The press froze. Someone muttered, wait, what? You don't get to bully her because she chooses silence, he said. Not everyone owes you their pain. Ana looked at him. Her eyes shimmered. She hadn't expected him to do that. Nobody had. Keanu stepped away from the table, walked past the confused reporters, and opened the door. But before leaving, he looked over his shoulder. It asked better. Questions or ask nothing. Then he walked out. Ana sat stunned. The room fell quiet. The moment exploded across social media in minutes. Headlines raced across the internet. Fans wrote in all caps. Keanu defends, Ana walks out mid-interview. Clips of the moment trended everywhere. Millions shared it. But no one knew the full story. Not yet. That evening, Ana sat alone in her hotel room. The curtains were half closed. Light from the window fell across her lap as she sat curled up on the couch. Her phone buzzed constantly. She ignored it. Outside Los Angeles moved fast. Cars, people, noise, but inside, her world slowed. She hadn't told anyone, not even Keanu, not the director, not her team. She thought she could carry it quietly. Maybe that was the mistake. But the truth was too fresh, too raw, and the pressure. To smile, to perform. To pretend, it had become unbearable. A knock came at the door. She didn't move. The knock came again. This time, a soft voice followed. It's me. She stood up slowly, walked to the door, and opened it. Keanu stood there holding 2 cups of tea. He stepped in without a word, handed her the tea, and sat on the edge of the couch. For a long time they didn't speak. Then she said quietly, "Thank you for what you did." He looked at her, his voice low. You don't owe anyone an explanation. But you don't have to carry it alone either. Ana's hands clutched the cup. It was warm, steadied her. She took a breath, and then, for the first time, she spoke the word she hadn't dared say since it happened. It was my brother, she said. Keanu listened. No interruptions. No questions. He called me the night before the premiere, said he needed help. I told him I was busy. I had makeup, interviews, fittings. And then I got the call 2 hours later. He didn't make it. Her voice cracked. He died alone. Keanu's eyes filled, but he didn't look away. He reached forward, placed a hand over hers. You didn't know? He said gently. I still ignored him, she whispered. We all miss things, Keanu said. especially when the world keeps asking for our smile. Anna wiped her eyes. She looked at him, really looked. This man who had nothing to gain, who stood in front of the world to shield her when she couldn't speak. I didn't want anyone to know, she said. I thought silence would protect him, protect me. Keanu nodded. Maybe it did. Baby silence was the most honest answer you could give. Outside, the city roared. But inside that quiet hotel room, something shifted. The burden began to lift. And that was just the beginning. Because in the days that followed, Anna would face the same reporters. But not the same way. And Keanu. He wasn't done protecting her. Not yet. A quiet return and louder truth's sun rose over Los Angeles the next morning, but the world felt different for Anna. After months of constant noise, her silence had finally been heard. Not judged, not broken, just... Keanu had left the hotel early, no note, no grand gesture. Just that familiar calm presence the night before. Anna stood by the window, watching the clouds pass slowly across the blue sky. She held her tea the way he had taught her, palms around the cup. Feel the warmth, let it calm the heart. Then came the text. It was from Keanu. Just 2 words, you ready? Anna stared at it, was she? After everything, facing the press again felt impossible. But this time something inside her said yes, not because she had to perform, but because she wasn't going in alone. She replied, I think so. An hour later. A car picked her up. The studio wanted to reschedule interviews. They wanted to fix the narrative. But Keanu had different plans. He didn't want damage control, wanted honesty. And this time, he was going to help her say what mattered on her terms. As Anna stepped into the car, her heart pounded. She wasn't sure what she would say, or how. But the silence from before no longer felt like a cage. It felt like a choice. When she arrived at the studio, she saw him, standing near the entrance, dressed simply in jeans and a black jacket, hands in his pockets. Waiting on a smiled. He smiled back. They walked in together. The same reporters were there. The same flashing lights, but the energy had shifted. Whispers followed their every step. Cameras turned faster. Microphones pointed their way. Before anyone could throw a question, Keanu spoke. Before we start, he said, looking directly at the press, we'd like to share something. Anna's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't scripted, wasn't pre-approved by the studio, but it was real. Keanu looked at her and gave a tiny nod, as if to say, You got this? Anna took the mic. She paused, then said softly but clearly, I lost someone close to me the night before the premiere. I was hurting. I didn't know how to pretend, so I didn't. The room was silent. No clicks, no laughs. It's just listening. I didn't speak because words didn't come. It didn't. Smile because it didn't feel right. I know this isn't what the world expects from actors, but I'm human before anything else. A reporter in the back slowly raised her hand. Was it your brother? Anna nodded, her voice breaking slightly. Yes. The reporter lowered her camera and whispered, I'm sorry. Keanu placed a hand gently on Anna's back. We don't talk enough about grief, he said, especially in this business. Pain isn't weakness. Silence isn't failure. Sometimes it's just survival. And just like that, the room changed. One by one, reporters asked softer questions. Not gossip, not rumors, real questions. Loss, about healing, about art and pain. About humanity, Anna answered them all. Not with perfect words, but with honest ones. After the interview, as they walked out, Anna whispered, How did you know I needed to speak today? Keanu smiled faintly. Because you were quiet yesterday. They shared a moment of silence, but this time, it was peaceful. Later that day, the video of the new interview went viral. But not because it was dramatic or scandalous. It was because it was real, raw, full of heart. People across the world commented things like, This made me cry. Thank you, Anna. Keanu is the definition of grace. Finally, a moment in Hollywood that felt human. Fans who had lost loved ones began sharing their stories too. Grief connected strangers in the comment sections. People found comfort in Anna's courage and in Keanu's kindness. Studio executives called Keanu's manager. I'm sure how to handle it, but the public had already spoken. This was more powerful than any trailer, and somewhere in that wave of unexpected support. Found something she hadn't felt in a long time? Peace. She started writing again. Not scripts, not lines, just thoughts. Pages of quiet feelings she had bottled up. Memories of her brother, little moments she never wanted to forget. Keanu, meanwhile, kept checking in, never pushing, just present. Sometimes they sat in silence. Other times, they walked by the beach. One evening, as they watched the waves crash, Anna turned to him. You've lost people too, haven't you? Keanu nodded. Too many. How do you keep going? He thought for a moment, and said by showing up for others, and by not pretending it doesn't hurt. Anna looked out at the ocean. Thank you for showing up for me. Keanu shrugged slightly. You'd have done the same. Anna smiled. I don't think I would have had the courage. Then maybe now you do, he said gently, and just like that. Something inside her shifted again. She wasn't just healing, she was growing. Asterisk, and she wasn't alone. The script she almost turned down script arrived on a rainy afternoon. Anna sat by the window, wrapped in a soft blanket, her journal open on her lap. The city outside was wet and gray, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't mind the silence. Her phone buzzed on the table. She ignored it at first. Then it buzzed again. It was her agent. You have to read this. It's different. She almost didn't open it. Her heart was still recovering. Her mind still wandered to memories of her brother, his laugh, the way he teased her when she cried during movies. Acting had always been her escape, but now it felt like something she had to face, not run from. She opened the email, read the first 2 pages of the script, then 10, then all of it. By the time she finished, tears were sliding silently down her face. It wasn't just a movie. It was a mirror. The story was about a woman who had lost her voice after losing her family. Not physically, but emotionally. She walked through life surrounded by people who didn't notice her silence. Then one day, a stranger sat beside her and said nothing at all. Just stayed on and closed the laptop. She called her agent. Is Keanu in this? She asked. There was a pause. He hasn't been approached yet. But the director mentioned his name. Anna looked out the window. I want to do it, she said, but only if he says yes. A week later, Keanu sat across from the same director, reading the same script in a small, quiet office, tucked behind a bookstore in Venice Beach. He read the final page, closed the script, and looked up. I'll do it, he said. The director nodded. Anna already said yes. On one condition, you'd be her co-star. Keanu smiled softly. I'd be honored. The movie was called A Quiet Kindness. The studio was hesitant. There were no action scenes, no dramatic reveals, just 2 broken people learning how to listen to each other. The budget was small. The story was simple, but Keanu and Anna were sure. Filming began 3 months later in a quiet town near Oregon. The first day on set, Anna stood in the makeup trailer. Holding a small photo of her brother tucked inside her coat pocket, Keanu knocked gently on the open door. Ready? He asked. Anna turned, smiled. Not really, she said. But let's do it anyway. The first scene was simple. Their characters sat on a park bench in silence. No dialogue, just looks, just energy. The camera rolled, and for 2 full minutes, neither of them said a word. Yet the air between them was thick with feeling. When the director yelled, "Cut!" the crew clapped softly. No one spoke. They didn't need to. Word about the film spread quietly. No massive campaigns, no viral teasers. But people started hearing whispers. A film with heart, with depth, with something missing from most movies now. Anna and Keanu didn't promote it like the others. They gave only one joint interview, and in it, Anna said something that stayed with millions. This isn't a story about pain. It's about what happens after pain. It's about showing up when there are no words left. Keanu added, sometimes kindness doesn't look like a rescue. Sometimes it just means staying beside someone in the dark. The film premiered at a small festival in Colorado. The theater was full, not of paparazzi or influencers, but of people who had lost something. Widows, parents, survivors, nurses, quiet people. Real people. When the credits rolled, no one clapped right away. There was only silence, then sniffles, then a slow standing ovation. Anna cried in her seat. Keanu placed his hand over hers, just like he had that night in the hotel. Later, backstage, Anna looked at him and whispered, "I think I finally told his story." Keanu nodded. "I think you told all of ours." The film didn't break box office records, didn't win Best Picture. But something bigger happened. Letters came in, from strangers, emails, messages. "Thank you for showing what grief really. It feels like I watched it with my daughter. We cried together for the first time in years. I didn't know I needed this until I saw it." Anna printed every message. She read them late at night when the world felt heavy again, and slowly, piece by piece, she began rebuilding not just her career but herself, not with fame, but with truth. And Keanu, he stayed. Not as a co-star. As a mentor, just as a friend. Quiet presence in her life that reminded her that silence could also be sacred, and sometimes the loudest thing you can do for someone is listen. The night she almost disappeared was cold and damp. Soft fog settled over the hills of Los Angeles. The city lights blinked below like stars trapped in reverse. But high above it all, Anna sat on a wooden bench outside a small retreat. Center tucked into the hills, the place had no name on the front, no red carpets, no makeup trailers. Just quiet. She came alone. No publicist, no team, not even Keanu. For months, she'd been strong filming, promoting healing. She gave strength to strangers. She answered messages from fans, spoke on podcasts about grief and growth. People praised her courage. But inside, a part of her still felt lost. The retreat was for people learning how to live again after losing. Anna thought she was past that, thought she'd already done the hard part. But now, alone in the cold, staring out into nothing, she realized something. She had shared her brother's story with the world, but never forgiven herself. Inside the retreat, soft lights glowed. Other people sat in circles, sharing memories, crying, laughing, healing, but Anna remained outside, frozen in her thoughts. It had been 1 year since the call. 1 year since her brother's voice echoed through her phone. Asking for time she didn't give, she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a photo. It was worn now, the edges bent, but his smile was still clear. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The wind didn't answer. Her phone buzzed. She looked a message from Keanu, just checking in, no pressure. "You okay?" she typed. Nothing, then deleted the blank message. Then typed. "Again, I don't know," he replied instantly. "That's okay. Not knowing is still a part of healing." She stared at the screen, then typed again. "I thought I was fine. I thought the movie fixed it. But tonight it hurts again. It's like I'm back at the start." His reply came moments later. "Grief isn't a line, it's a wave, and it doesn't need to be fixed." Anna closed her eyes. She could almost hear his voice saying it, warm, steady, true. The next morning, during the final retreat circle, the guide invited everyone to share something they hadn't said out loud. Anna hesitated, then slowly stood. "I was with thousands of people the night he died," she said softly. "I was smiling for cameras while my brother left this world alone. And I told myself I couldn't cry because it would ruin everything I worked for. So I stayed silent, not to honor him, but to protect myself." The room was silent. Tears slipped down her face. But I think silence became a wall, not a tribute. Woman across the circle nodded through her own tears. Man beside her reached for a tissue. Anna sat back down. For the first time, she felt empty, but not in a bad way. More like a space had been cleared inside her, space where healing could finally live. When she returned to Los Angeles, Keanu picked her up himself. No driver, just him, leaning against his old motorcycle. "You okay?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Not yet, but closer." They drove through the hills in silence. The city stretched below them, When they reached her apartment, she turned to him. "Can I ask you something personal?" she said. "Of course," he answered. "Who showed up for you when you lost?" Her, she had never asked him about his past, about the tragedy he rarely spoke of. His daughter, his partner, the pain that shaped his soul. He looked out at the road. "No one did," he said quietly. "Not at first. I didn't let them. I thought strength meant silence. Thought people needed me to be okay. But it just made the hurt deeper." Anna listened, heart heavy. So now he continued, "I try to be what I needed back then." Anna nodded slowly. "You are," she whispered. "You've been that for me." He didn't reply, just reached out, squeezed her hand once. They didn't say goodbye, just smiled. And sometimes that was enough. Days passed. Anna started writing a book. Not about fame, not about film, but about grief, kindness, memory. She wanted to give others what she had been given, a safe space. To feel without shame, Keanu kept visiting hospitals like he always had quietly, reading to patients, bringing food to nurses. He never posted about it, never mentioned it in interviews. It was just who he was one day. Anna surprised him. She showed up at one of the hospitals with him. Together, they read stories to children, sang songs, brought laughter. One girl asked, "Are you guys superheroes?" Keanu smiled. "Only on weekends." Anna laughed. Later, as they walked through the hallways, Anna whispered, "You know, you helped me find my voice again. Not the acting one, the real one." He looked at her, gentle. "You always had it. You just needed someone to remind you." Anna smiled, and as they stepped outside into the golden afternoon light, something felt different. Not finished, but whole. When silence turned into strength book deal came quietly. There were no loud announcements, no marketing buzz. Just a simple letter from a small publisher who had read Anna's collection of journal entries. They said her words made them cry. Not because they were sad, but because they were honest. The book was called Holding Space. It wasn't a memoir. It wasn't about her fame. It was about how silence can be sacred, how loss can teach us how to love, and how kindness even in its quietest forms can save someone's life. Keanu wrote the foreword. He kept it short sometimes. The loudest acts of love are never spoken. I've seen that truth in Anna's journey, and I've learned, through her courage, that healing doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it just looks like staying. The book became a slow-burn bestseller. Readers shared it like a secret. Gift passed between friends, left on benches, mailed across countries. Anna didn't go on talk shows to promote it. She declined interviews. She said the story wasn't about her. It was about everyone who had ever sat quietly in grief, afraid their silence meant failure. One night, she and Keanu were invited to a small community center to speak with young adults struggling with loss. They expected a few people, over 200 showed up. The room was packed, chairs were pulled close, the walls were lined with people sitting on the floor. Candles glowed in the corners. Soft music played from a speaker in the back. Anna sat beside Keanu on a low stage. A young man stood first. His voice trembled. "I lost my father in a car crash. I never got to say goodbye. Your book helped me tell my mom how much I miss him. Thank you." Anna smiled gently, her eyes warm. A woman in the back raised her hand. "My sister took her life," she said softly. "I blamed myself for years, but reading your story made me feel less alone." Anna stood up, walked to the woman, and hugged her. No cameras, no spotlight. Just two broken hearts finding comfort in each other. When Anna returned to her seat, Keanu looked at her with quiet pride. "You've become the thing you needed most," he said. "What's that?" she asked. "Someone who listens?" That night, after the event, they sat in the parking lot beneath the stars. Anna looked up. "I don't think I ever believed this would be my life. I thought I'd just be a performer forever, playing roles, smiling for cameras. But now," Keanu asked. "Now," she whispered, "I think I'm finally real." He nodded. "You are. And people feel that." "Oh." She turned to him, None of this would have happened if you hadn't walked out of that interview. Keanu chuckled softly. Maybe. Or maybe you would have found your way anyway. No, she said. I was drowning, and you noticed. 'Cause I know that silence, he said. I lived in it for years. She reached out, touched his hand. I'm glad you didn't stay there. They sat like that for a while. Hands. Touching. Hearts open. Then came a knock on her trailer door 3 weeks later. They were filming a new project together, one she had written, and he had agreed to co-produce. The knock was soft, Anna, said a young assistant outside. There's someone here to see you. She opened the door. A woman stood there. Older, kind eyes. Nervous smile. Hi, the woman said. I lost my daughter last year and I wanted to thank you. Your story helped me speak at her memorial. Yana stepped out slowly. Thank you for sharing that, she said. The woman held out a small chain. It had a tiny charm and open book. I made these, she said. For people who helped me, I only had 5. Anna took the charm, held it in her palm. Tears welled in her eyes. Keanu appeared behind her quietly. The woman looked at him startled. And you, she said. You were the reason she started talking again. Thank you. Keanu gave her the smallest bow. Just honored to be part of her journey. When the woman left, Anna turned to him. We started something, didn't we? He nodded, and I don't think it's finished. The echo of Keanu's final scene of the film took place in a quiet meadow. Golden grass swayed gently under the evening light. Anna's character sat on a fallen log, eyes closed, a journal in her lap. Anna's character stood beside her, not speaking, just breathing in the stillness. The director called action, but neither of them moved. They didn't need to. Their stillness told the story. When cut echoed through the trees, no one rushed forward. The crew stayed back. Something in the moment felt sacred, complete. It was the last day of filming. When they wrapped, Anna hugged every crew member, thanked every assistant. Took photos not for social media, but to remember. Keanu stood near the trucks. Watching her, she walked over, pulled something from her pocket. It was the charm the grieving mother had given her, the open book. She handed it to him. This belongs to you, she said. He looked down at it, then back at her. It belongs to both of us, he replied. They didn't need more words. Weeks later, the movie The Space Between Us premiered at a small independent theater. No red carpet. No loud press. Just an audience that came because they wanted to feel something. The story was about 2 people learning to love life again, not through big gestures, but by simply showing up for each other. No one shouted. No one ran. The film whispered its truth. People cried. People stayed after the credits. Some even left notes. Folded into the theater seats, Anna collected those notes. Every single one read, I watched this with my son. He held hands the entire time. Thank you. Another said, your silence gave me courage to speak. Keanu and Anna didn't attend the premiere. Instead, they sat on a bench outside, listening through the open theater doors. When the applause came, it wasn't wild or loud. It was full of heart. Anna turned to him. Can I ask you something? He nodded. Double quotes, do you ever think about how strange it is that everything changed? Just because you walked out of that interview? He smiled. Not strange, just necessary. Why did you do it? She asked. Because no one else did, he said. And sometimes one act of kindness can rewrite someone's whole story. Anna looked down. You rewrote mine? Keanu shook his head gently. You wrote your own. Just reminded you had the pen. Months passed. The book-holding space was added to school libraries. Counselors used it in therapy rooms. The film The Space Between Us was screened in hospitals, prisons, shelters, places where pain lived and kindness rarely knocked. Anna started a small foundation in her brother's name. It offered grief support for young people. Not therapy, not solutions. It's just a space to be still, to be silent, to be real. Keanu became its quiet patron. Never posed for pictures, never spoke at events. He simply paid for everything behind the scenes. One evening, the foundation held a candlelight gathering in the hills. Hundreds came. Each person held a candle. No speeches. Just soft music. Memories. Names whispered into the wind. Anna stood in the crowd. Tears in her eyes, Keanu appeared beside her, handed her a candle, and said, "For all the stories still untold," she nodded, "and all the hearts still healing." The night stretched on. The hills lit up with hundreds of small flames. The silence was deep, respectful, powerful, Anna whispered. "This silence feels different, because it's full," Keanu said. "Not empty." They stood side by side. No cameras, no scripts, just two people who had once been broken, now standing whole, not perfect, not finished, but whole in the way that only truth can make you. The world kept spinning. Projects came and went. Interviews happened. Awards were won. But Anna never forgot. Not the silence, not the pain, and not the man who showed her that even in her quietest moment, someone was listening. Her story didn't end with grief. It began with it. And because one man walked out of a room to defend her silence, she found the strength to fill that silence with love.